There we go. So, I did this on Facebook, had some audio issues, so now I'm down in the basement where I have more options. What I wanted to do was talk about some of the ways that I think about phrasing when I'm approaching the guitar. So, in a blues rock sense, so this isn't really going to be like traditional blues stuff. This is more of a blues rock kind of thing. These are the kinds of phrases you'll hear Joe Bonamassa and Eric Gales do quite often. They're very much inspired by Eric Johnson. And all of those guys do a lot of things using two-note per string ideas. So if you're talking two notes per string, it's your natural place that you would go to think about that would probably be pentatonic scales, the scales we all learned when we started out. For example, D, pentatonic. All right, so the old, good old pentatonic shape that most of us know and love. So that's a two-note per string kind of scale. You can do it, in whatever position you may play pentatonic. There's a minor pentatonic. You may do it there or those sorts of things, right? In different places. And it is important to know how to play your pentatonic scales in every position that you possibly can. So you can, move around the neck. If you don't know, if your fingers don't know where they're going, it's kind of hard to get there, right? If you want to do it with muscle memory, it takes a lot of practice. Months and months and months and years and years and years. So, one of the things that a lot of those guys, Eric Gales, got it from Eric Johnson, Joe Bonamassa, is they like to play things and phrases where they group notes in five. So a simple way to think about that is if we were to take that pentatonic minor scale in D and just climb the scale in groups of five. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we're going to start the next group of five on the next string. And then a next. If you put that together, you get that kind of a sound. If you do that in another pentatonic position, that sounds very much like Eric Johnson. He uses that one a lot. So that's that idea of a group of five. You're playing a sequence. You can do the same thing descending the scale. You can do it where you pick every note. Or those are hammer-ons. Or this way you can do pull-offs. A lot of times I will use hybrid picking for these kinds of things. So I've got pick, finger, pick, finger. That gets really convenient if you're trying to do phrases that are a little bit more awkward if you have a pick. So for example, if I was going to do groups of five, but instead of starting here, if I start here, and then, that's hard to do with a pick. So often I will do pull-offs where I'm using hybrid picking. That makes it a little bit easier for me to do that. Groups of five, right? You get a lot of cool phrases. So then, an idea that I hear Eric Gales do a lot is, in fact, I think he calls it the stepping stone or the step ladder approach. Is he will put multi-directions in there. So you'll play some notes all descending and then suddenly he's ascending, or he'll repeat a part of the phrase. So this is one I see him do a lot, where he'll play first five and then the next five, then he'll play the next five again. So you get, that one happens twice. And then from there, he'll go to the next five. So you get, and he'll do it again. And then you run out of strings, so you have to do that one twice. So it's sort of a... that sort of thing. You end up with a whole lot of notes. Sometimes, if you're playing as fast as he does, you run right out of fretboard. Uh-oh, I'm out of notes, right? So he does things like that to extend that. And it just sounds cool. It sounds really fluid and sort of bubbly. And then he'll also switch directions. So, and I don't think, once you have this kind of thing committed to muscle memory, there's not like there's a whole lot of conscious thought about group of 5, group of 4, I'm going to ascend, I'm going to descend, I'm going to play this one twice. You're just playing, right? And you're just sort of expressing. And he's really good at that. He plays like right on the edge of the cliff. He never falls off. I love it. But he's like right on the edge of the human capabilities. It's scary. So you can do that kind of thing. Where you're just sort of, mixing and matching 4s and 5 sequences, all 2 notes per string there. And then if you break out of and you move into other positions, you can, really start to extend that. One of the things I used to do to drive, I didn't do it to drive my wife nuts, but it ancillary benefit, right? I did it to develop some muscle memory, is I would just switch between these 2 positions and try to play as long as I could using these patterns without stopping, right? So I'd force myself to... that kind of thing. Really irritating if you're in the room with me, trying to watch The Walking Dead, and I did the same thing to my sister when I was, 14, learning how to play guitar. But back then it was doodly doodly doodly. So I've advanced in 30-some years. Went from 3s to 5s. So some cool ideas, and once you get that to a point where it's comfortable and you can start to do some things, you can really start to flow around the neck. So those are all sort of groups of 4, but that's same idea. You can mix and match. You get really fluid. You can, move all over. So then, when you get bored of 5s, right? When you're tired of that, how about 7s? Oh my goodness. So if you were to play the same scale and find a rhythmic sequence, so you can do it in a group of 7. So here's an example. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? Oh. A little hard to do. That's groups of 7. And then you can find the same sort of phrase going down. Is 7. A little trickier. So you mix 5s and 7s and 4s, and you end up with these really bubbly sort of ideas. So that's all cool. That's fun. So then, once you've sort of exhausted, or at least you've become bored of that kind of phrasing, one of the things you can do to spice that up is just to add another flavor, another color, another Crayola in the box. So I will still think about 2 notes per string, but I will modify the scale I'm playing. So one that I do all the time is instead of a straight pentatonic, I will grab a note out of the Dorian mode, right? Modes, it's all Greek to me. I think they were named after Greek city-states. Dorian, Mixolydian, all kinds of fun stuff. So Dorian is a minor scale with a major 6 instead of a minor 6, which is the one that's a little bit more natural we're accustomed to hearing. But is a little brighter, right? You might recognize that as a scale used a lot by the Allman Brothers. Santana uses it a lot when he does that stuff. So what I'll do with that is sticking with a 2-note per string idea, is I'll modify a pentatonic scale, and I'll think about it as like a Dorian pentatonic. It's not, but that's how I think about it, right? Because really, it's all about how you categorize the notes and how you organize them in your head. There's only 12 notes, as my dad used to say. There's only 12 notes. It's not that hard. And you know, it worked. So I will take, and I'm going to remove that 7, that dominant 7th, and replace it with a major 6. And you get that sort of idea. And it sounds a little bit different, right? It's got a very different sound. So if you do that and you just think, okay, 2 notes per string, but you kind of get interesting with it and do, instead of, you do more like wide interval stuff. You get some cool ideas. You get some cool phrases that end up sounding a little bit different. That's a Dorian, but it's 2 notes per string. And it's sort of approaching it like a pentatonic, but it's not. That is. So that's where it ceases to be pentatonic, right? And you get that major 6 in there. That mixes it up, right? It gives you some options. And you can find all kinds of cool stuff to do with that, just by changing one note. When I tend to use the modes, I'm usually doing it pretty intentionally, and I like the dissonance that one note that stands out creates. So I'll kind of stick that note like, and really pay attention to it, because I don't want to be subtle about it. It's just a personal choice, right? And it really stands out, and it sounds a little bit more exotic than it is, just because you're phrasing it that way. So, you can do a lot of cool things with 2 notes per string. Tons and tons of things. I'll probably do a couple other videos talking about some of the other things that I do using 2 notes per string, particularly with hybrid picking, and what happens when you start mixing in some open strings. You get some really cool things. So, this is fun. I'll do some more.